Hello, my name's Ron.
I'm Fergus.
Together we're Macastory and we're delighted to have been asked to take part in this year's Citizens Festival. We're going to tell you a story and sing you a song, but first we're going to start with a story. Would you like to tell us a story, Fergus?
Aye, all right, I'll just get a chair. There you are. Well, here we are in the forest. So let me tell you a story about a forest. Now, once upon a time in the land of Russia, there lived a girl. She was very poor. Her name was Marushka. In fact, her family were so poor, Marushka had to go and work and live in the house of a wealthy woman and her daughter. Well, they didn't treat her well from the start, no. They gave her the worst of chores to do. She had to scrub and she had to clean. She had to chop firewood. She had to fetch water from the frozen well because now it was winter time. Aye, she worked all day, every day. And the woman and her daughter, they didn't give her the least bit of thanks. In fact, they didn't like her at all. Do you know why? Because she was good and she was kind. The woman, the wealthy woman, one day thought of a nasty, nasty trick to play on Marushka. While Marushka was scrubbing the floor of the kitchen, in came the woman. "Girl, Marushka, come here, come here." "Oh, yes, madam," said Marushka. "Now," said the woman, "today I will have flowers on the table, fresh cut flowers from the forest." But madam," said Marushka, "there are no flowers in the forest. Why, it is winter time. The forest is frozen. It is only ice and snow." "How dare you? How dare you speak to me like that?" said the woman. "Now you will go to the forest and you will find those flowers. And if you don't, my girl, you will sleep in the woodshed tonight and you will freeze." Poor Marushka, what could she do? She had no choice. She pulled the thin little shawl that she had around her shoulders and off she went with a basket into the forest. Now, the snow was thick and snowflakes were falling and the branches of the trees were bare or laden with icicles and snow. Do you think Marushka found any flowers in that forest? No, of course she didn't. But she looked here and she looked there, and she got so cold that the tears started to run down her cheeks and turn to ice. She thought she would freeze in that forest, when all of a sudden, up ahead, she saw the flickering flames of a fire. And she thought, perhaps people are working in the forest today and they will let me warm my hands by their fire. So she hurried forward through the snow to the light of the fire. She came to a clearing, and there she saw, sitting by that fire, the four strangest people you have ever seen. There was a wee tiny man. He was all dressed in white, with white whiskers and little eyes, blue eyes like two crystals of ice. He held a stick and he was poking the flames of the fire, making them leap up. Next to him sat a little girl, all dressed in the colours of spring flowers. Next to her, there was a man whose hair shone like gold, like the sun. And next to him, a strikingly beautiful woman, all dressed in reds and browns and oranges. Well, Marushka came forward, and the old man, he looked up, and he said, "Welcome, my dear. What brings you to our forest today?" "Why, I come looking for flowers," said Marushka. "Flowers you will not find," said the old man. No, my dear, for now it is winter in our forest. No flowers grow, only ice and snow is here. However, perhaps we can help. Perhaps," he said, turning to the little girl, "Sister Spring, you and I switch places a while." With that, the old man got up and he shuffled around through the snow and laid down the stick. The little girl, she jumped up from her place. She began to skip and dance and twirl. She cartwheeled through the snow around the fire and took the stick. Then she started to stoke at the fire, and the flames leapt up. Marushka, she looked in wonder, because you see, the snowflakes that were drifting down, they started to change, and they turned into petals of blossom, beautiful pink petals of blossom that fall from the trees in the spring. They made a carpet at her feet where the snow and ice started to melt. And what do you think grew up? Flowers, spring flowers, every colour of the rainbow. All for you, my dear, said the old man. Now take them, please. And she did. She gathered up the flowers, she filled the basket, and she thanked them, and she thanked them again, and then she ran through the snow back to the house. The woman of the house was waiting, expecting Marushka to come back frozen with an empty basket. So when Marushka came in, and the woman looked, she said, Marushka, do you have my She stopped. Her mouth hung open. She couldn't understand. How could Marushka have got flowers in the middle of winter from the forest? But she had. Here are the flowers, madam, said Marushka. The woman was furious that her trick had failed. Well, just put them on the table and get to your room. The next day, Marushka was up early as usual, working in the kitchen, scrubbing and cleaning, when in came the woman. Marushka, come here. Today, you will go to the forest and I want strawberries for my breakfast. You find strawberries in that forest and bring them back here, or you'll be sorry, my girl. You will sleep in the woodshed. Now, Marushka knew better than to say anything about the winter and the snow and the ice. Strawberries in the forest? But off she went. Basket and the little shawl round her shoulders, and she looked here and she looked there, and the snow came down and the icicles hung from the trees. And do you think she found strawberries? No. But she did see the flames of the fire up ahead, the light shining through the bare trees. And she thought, perhaps the 4 people will be there again today. And she hurried forward. There, sitting round the same fire, were the same 4 people, the old man holding the stick once more and stoking the flames. The old man, he looked up and he said, Welcome, my dear. What brings you to our forest today? Oh, said Marushka. Why, I come looking for strawberries. My mistress wants to eat them for breakfast, and she will punish me if I do not bring them home. Said the old man, stroking his whiskers. Strawberries you will not find. It is winter, but perhaps we can help. And he turned to the striking young man with the hair that shone like the sun, and he said, Brother Summer, perhaps you and I switch places a while. And with that, the old man put down the stick and shuffled round the man with the hair that shone like the sun. Up he stood. He strode purposefully, smiling, winking as he went around the fire, and he took the stick and he began to stoke the flames. And up they left into the sky. Marushka, she looked in wonder, for you see, the snow that was falling down began to change into butterflies that fluttered here and there, and bees that buzzed around her head. And then Marushka looked as the snow and ice began to melt and strawberries grew. The biggest, juiciest, sweetest strawberries you have ever seen. And all for you, my dear, said the old man. Marushka picked the strawberries and filled the basket till they were falling over the side. And then she thanked them, and she thanked them again, and she hurried back through the snow. She came to the house. In she went. The woman was waiting. Well, Marushka, do you have my strawberries? Madam, I do, she said, holding up the basket. Again, the woman was furious. Well, you get them on the table and you get to your room. The next morning, Once more, Marushka was at work in the kitchen when in came the wealthy woman. Marushka, come here. Today I will have apples. Yes, I will have a basket of apples on that table, or you will be sorry, my girl. You go to the forest now and you fetch those apples. You bring them back here. Now, I don't care if there's snow and ice, you find them. Yes, madam. I warn you, said the woman, you'll sleep in that woodshed if you don't. Off went Marushka. She pulled on the little thin shawl and took the basket, and through the snow and the ice she went, through the frozen trees, the frozen forest. Apples on the trees. There was only icicles hanging on the trees. But there was the light of the fire, and she made her way to the clearing. And there were the same 4 people, and once more it was the old man with his stick. And as she stepped forward, he looked up. The old man said, "Welcome, my dear. What brings you to our forest today?" "Why, sir," said Marushka, "I come looking for apples. My mistress will have them on the table, or she will punish me." "Apples you will not find. It is winter time now, but perhaps we can help." And he turned to the beautiful woman, all dressed in orange and reds and browns, and he said, Sister Autumn, perhaps you and I switch places a while." Then the woman, dressed in reds, oranges, the colours of autumn, she stood up and she started to glide gracefully. Through the snow she went, round the fire, and she took the stick, and then she began to stoke at the flames, and the flames they leapt up into the sky. This time, the snowflakes that were drifting down began to transform and change into autumn leaves of reds and yellows and browns that fluttered down and made a carpet on the floor around Marushka. And when she looked up, she watched as the icicles changed into apples. Big, juicy red apples. The shiniest apples you've ever seen. "And all for you," said the old man. "Please, my dear, pick them now and fill your basket." And she did. She picked the apples and she filled the basket, and she thanked them and she thanked them again. And then she made her way back through the snow to the house. But when she went inside, the woman was waiting for her. And as Marushka reached up with the basket to show the woman the apples, she knocked it from Marushka's hand, sending the apples spilling across the floor. And she grabbed hold of Marushka and she shook her and she said, "You tell me now, girl, you tell me, where do you get these things? Every day I send you for something to the forest, something you cannot find in the forest in winter, yet you bring them back here. Where are you getting them? What's the secret?" Now Marushka would have told the woman if only she'd asked politely. But all the same, Marushka, she was an honest girl. And she said, "Oh, madam, I go to the forest every day, and it is true these things do not grow in the forest at this time, but there are 4 people who sit round a fire. A little man, all dressed in white, a little girl in the colours of spring flowers, a man whose hair shines like the sun, and a woman so beautiful in her cloak of red and her coat of brown. And whatever I ask for, they give me." "Oh, do they now?" "Yes, madam. They make these things appear. Whatever you ask for, they give you." "Yes, madam." "And then tomorrow, girl, you will stay here and you will work in this house. My daughter will go to the forest." And so it was that the following day, Marushka, she stayed in the house, scrubbing and cleaning and polishing. And the woman's daughter put on a thick fur coat and fur mitts and boots and hat, and took a great basket and a list that the woman had written. And it was a long, long list, let me tell you. I wonder if you can think what she might have put on that list. Well, let's see. Yes, there was flowers. Oh yeah, and strawberries and apples. Oh, there was more than that though. There was cheese, and there was bread, and meat, and gold, and jewels, and money. The girl made her way through the snow. She saw the light of the fire up ahead, and she came to the clearing. And she stepped into the light of the fire, and the old man holding the stick, tending to the fire, looked up. And the old man said, "Welcome, my dear. What brings you to our forest today?" The daughter, she said, "Well, I have a list of things. I want flowers, and I want strawberries and apples, and no, my dear," said the old man. "These things you will not find in our forest, for it is winter now, and they do not grow. No, my dear." "Now, wait a minute," said the girl. "I'm not even finished. I want breads and cheese, and I want money and jewels, and no, these things you cannot have," said the old man. The girl looked down. She said, "You cheeky old fool, how dare you? I know you can give me these things. I'm standing here freezing. Now you hurry up and you give me these things quickly." With that, the old man's face, it changed. It turned to a face as cold as ice, and his eyes seemed to shrink down to 2 little pinpricks of blue. And he said, "Oh, I'll give you something all right." And his mouth began to open wider and wider and wider until it was the size of a cave. And then whoosh! Out came the north wind. It swept out of the old man's mouth, and it whipped round and round and round the girl. And it swept up the snow from the ground. It pulled in the snowflakes from the air until it had made a blizzard. And the girl, she was lost in that blizzard. She stumbled about, and she staggered around trying to find her way home, and off through the trees she went. But she became lost. And when she didn't return, her mother, the woman of the house, went looking for her. And the north wind found her too, and she became lost in that blizzard. And for all I know, the two of them are still out there in that forest to this day, trying to find their way back, because they never returned. And Marushka, she became the woman of the house. And it was a happy place after that. And whenever she fancied maybe some flowers for the table, or some strawberries, or even an apple or two, all she had to do, no matter what time of the year it was go into the forest and visit her friends, the 4 seasons.
What are you up to?
Oh, I was just tuning up for the last wee song, you know.
Oh, the last wee song. Oh, before the last wee song, I brought you a present.
Ah, what'd you get me?
I brought you a new bonnet.
A new bonnet? Look at the size of that. My head's not that big.
But it's oversized. That's all the rage, oversized.
Oversized?
Oh, everybody's wearing oversized.
A trendy oversized bonnet?
It's a trendy oversized bonnet.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, you look fantastic. You look fantastic.
Right.
And we'll hate to get out in the street and let everybody see it.
Aye.
But before we go, this is it. But it's the end.
Aye, that's it. We're away.
It's time for a song, eh?
I would better do a wee goodbye song.
A wee cheerio song.
A wee cheerio song.
A wee cheerio song. Okay.
Okay. Oh, let's sing this.
Farwarno awate bairawa, farwarno awate livye, farwarno awate bairawa. Will I come back and see ya? Farwarno awate bairawa, farwarno awate livye, farwarno awate bairawa. Will I come back and see ya? Farwarno awate bairawa, farwarno awate livye, farwarno awate bairawa. Will I come back and see ya? Oh, that's it then.
Aye, that's it.
the end.
I'm ready for a wee something to eat.
I'm going to have a piece of jam.
Oh, I'm going to have a scone.
That's what's gone.
I'm having a scone.
My piece and jam's gone.
No, I'm here in a scone.
You're here in a scone. Where's my piece and jam gone?
I've not got your piece and jam.
Oh, you said it's gone.
I've seen them having a
Oh, I
scone.
thought you said it was...